The responsible for climate change is the human being and his greenhouse gas emissions that warm the planet. The best known gas is CO2, which causes 63% of global warming. Climate change is the evil of our time, and its consequences can be devastating if we don't drastically reduce our dependence on fossil fuels and greenhouse gas emissions. So let's begin with the causes of climate change. Some parts of Asia and Africa have experienced more frequent and intense droughts in the recent decades. There have been more intense, frequent, and persistent storms as well. The glaciers are melting, and the water levels are crossing the danger marks. The global warming and the greenhouse effects are the more pressing issues in hand. Climate changes can be pinned in two main factors: natural and activities of humans. Natural effects are volcanic eruptions, oceanic currents, changing the orbit of Earth, and solar variations can cause in climate change in their own way. Volcanic eruptions releases large amounts of sulfur dioxide that cools the Earth. One eruption has the capacity to affect the climate for many years. And on the other hand, the man caused pollution, and cutting down plants has also played a key role in climate changes. Humans are increasingly influencing the climate and the Earth's temperature by burning fossil fuels, cutting down rainforests, and farming livestock. Burning coal, oil, and gas produces carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide. Burning down forests, which is deforestation, affects because trees help regulate the climate by absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere. So when they're cut down, the beneficial effects is lost, and the carbon stored in the trees is released into the atmosphere, adding to the greenhouse effect. And the last point is increases livestock farming. This is because cows and sheep produce large amounts of methane when they digest their food. So next, let's talk about the effects of climate change. The climate changes are also having an impact in biodiversity, which is very important for plants and animals for maintaining their habitat and their ecosystem. It also impacts human society and us both physically and psychologically. The droughts and the floods have made it difficult for us to survive. When water warms up, it expands. At the same time, the global warming causes polar ice sheets and glaciers to melt. The combination of these changes is causing sea levels to rise, resulting in flooding and erosion of coastal and low-lying areas. The harvests are being destroyed either due to untimely rain or no rain when there should be, increasing in average temperature during summer and decreasing averages temperature during winters have led to increase in the consumption of energy. There is a lot of climate changes that meet our eyes. It is a deeper and more problematic issue than what it just seems. Climate change is already having an impact on health. There has been an increase in the number of heat-related deaths in some regions and a decrease in cold-related deaths in others. We are already seeing changes in the distribution of some waterborne illnesses and disease vectors. Finally, how can we combat climate change? The first challenge is eliminating the burning of coal, oil, and eventually natural gases. So, first point, we can move closer to work. Transportation is the second leading source of greenhouse gases emissions in the US. Burning a single gallon of gasoline produces 20 pounds of CO2, but it doesn't have to be that way. Second point, consume less. The easiest way to cut back on greenhouse gas emissions is simply to buy less stuff, whether by foregoing in a car or employing a reusable grocery sack. Cutting back on consumption results in fewer fossil fuels being burned to extract, produce, and ship products around the globe. Third point, unplug. Believe it or not, citizens spend more money on electricity to power devices when off than when on. Televisions, stereo equipment, computers, battery chargers, and hosts of other gadgets and appliances consume more energy than simply switched off, so unplug them instead. So the last point, have only one child. There are at least 6.6 billion people living today. A number that is predicted by the United Nations to grow to at least 9 billion by mid-century. The UN which is the environmental program, estimates that it requires 54 acres to sustain an average human being today. Food, clothing, and other resources extracted from the planet. So, in conclusion, remember that we need to drastically change our habits and look for alternatives to revert the climate change. Climate change, it's not just an environmental issue, as too many people still believe. It is a threat to health, to our agriculture, to peace and security, to the every ground millions of people live on, to the global economy. We are now at a point where even the last government has given up denying this reality. Storms, droughts, and rising sea levels are break signs of what we are facing. Large regions will become uninhabitable because they will be either flooded or get hardly any rainwater at all. So I would like to quote Kofi Annan. The question is not whether climate change is happening, but whether in the face of this emergency, we ourselves can change fast enough. So we still have time to revert everything that is happening so that a global catastrophe doesn't occur. We still have a few years left. It can be achieved. Thank you.